Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about email marketing, and the name of the webinar is Email Marketing More Than Just Newsletters. Ricky is my name, and I'm a digital business advisor at Business Station, where we deliver the federal government's Digital Solutions Program for small businesses in Australia. Now, what are we going to talk about today? So today, we're going to talk about email marketing, like I suggested. Now, email marketing's been around for a long time. It's the original digital marketing platform, dating back to even the pre-web era. So, the late 1970s. And, rather than become old and stale, it's developed into a very sophisticated marketing tool that every small business should be using as part of their marketing kit bag. Now, it can be used for far more than just sending newsletters. It can do automated welcome emails. It can send confirmation emails through to complete sales and marketing funnels, even CRMs, if you need a CRM, for example, landing pages, and some of them allow you to do advertising through the platform as well. So let's see what we're going to talk about today. So this is the agenda. I'm going to touch on, why you should be doing email marketing, in my opinion, and in the opinion of some of the experts out there. And then what you need to get started, including, of course, an email list and how you build that. How with these platforms you can do really personalized marketing down to the individual or product level even. And you can automate a lot of this. So a lot of automations are built into these platforms now. We'll talk about some emails that maybe you should be sending now, or at least setting up. And then we'll finish off with some metrics you should keep an eye on to see how successful or otherwise your campaigns are and what you need to do to stay compliant. Okay. So we only have an hour, so, there's only so much we can go through, but hopefully you'll get some value out of this. So why should you do email marketing? Well, according to Forbes magazine, it's going to be your highest return on your investment in terms of marketing channels. So if you do it right, you'll see a significant return on that, that advertising investment dollar that you spend, or marketing investment dollar rather. And according to HubSpot themselves are a pretty good platform for email marketing. It's going to be more effective than your social media channels, potentially. And potentially, combining some of those social media channels will be more successful than that. So what it allows you to do is communicate individually with your subscribers, and you can do so depending on where they are in their customer journey with you. So for example, are they a new subscriber? Are they a regular buyer? Are they a lost subscriber you need to win back? So all of these different types of customers or subscribers are going to require different types of content. So just continuing on on the why do email marketing theme. So here are some statistics to keep in mind. So, for professionals, email is their preferred communication channel. And that's often because they're immersed, email is part of their business process. Other social channels might not necessarily be part of that process on a consistent hourly basis. So it's their preferred email channel. And also, if they subscribe to your email list, they're much more likely to be engaged. They've already put some skin in the game. They've subscribed to your list. There's some commitment there already. So they're much more likely to share content and to be engaged with your content. And, if they subscribe to your email list, they expect content from you. So, they expect an email every now and then. It's a very effective tool in that regards. And finally, it's always going to be there. It's something that's owned by you. Your email list is owned by you, and you can own that, and it adds value to your business, and it will always be there. Unlike, if you just look at what's happening in, just in regards to Apple and their recent privacy changes and Facebook algorithms, for example. Next year, you've got cookies being dropped from Google Chrome and all these things that are allowing you to do some of this very personalized marketing. it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that. And so, you know, having a good email list is one way to counter that. And of course, the bigger your email list becomes, the more valuable it becomes. So there are roughly, I guess, about 4 types of email marketing types that you can send. So the first one is a newsletter. So a newsletter is something that you would send regularly. You might have a summary of recent content that you've posted online, updates and announcements, for example. But as the name of this webinar implies, it's not necessarily the only thing you need to be doing with your email marketing. And for some businesses, it's not even required. You know, so you don't necessarily have to send a newsletter out. There are lots of other ways you can use email marketing over and above that. But your newsletter is still a good thing. It's a great way to generate leads and traffic, bring traffic to your site, build and maintain your existing subscriber relationships, and to nurture any leads. So newsletters one. Transactional emails are another type. So these are really things like confirmation emails, you know, thank you emails and welcome emails, you know, really important emails that build that trust and relationship with your clients. So when they order something, say thank you. When they subscribe to your email list, say thank you and welcome. You know, there's a range of things you can do there in terms of transactional emails. The third type is lead nurturing. So, you know, these are usually part of a series or a flow, automation, whatever the terminology your particular email platform might use, for example. But it's really a flow or a series of emails, and it's often triggered based on a number of criteria, or one criteria usually, and it'll be one of these 3. So they're either in a particular segment, and we'll talk about segments shortly, or they've done something in particular in terms of their behavior. They might have bought something or abandoned a cart or whatever the case may be, or it could be time-based. So it's been 6 months since they bought something. They need to refill whatever their product is, or they need to restock, or that sort of thing. Or it could just be the fact that you haven't heard from them for that amount of time. So, you know, these types of flows or automations are highly targeted, and they should be targeting an individual segment rather than your list, your whole list. And we'll talk about segments shortly. And the fourth type of email is really informational. So these are emails you might send to your subscribers, telling them about new content, new products, for example, that you've released. Could also be things like product updates, you know, an email about an event, for example, that you've got coming up, how to use a particular product, how to educate your customers about your product or your brand, for example. So these are all sort of informational ones. And they all play a role. So not necessarily saying you should be doing one or the other. They all play a role depending on where your customer is in that journey, if you like. So we've talked about why you should be doing email marketing. So let's talk about now what you need to get started with email marketing. So there are essentially 3 or 4 things you need to do email marketing properly. And the first one is an email service provider. So there are lots of different platforms out there, and we'll go through some of these shortly, you know, which ones are good for certain things and which ones are better for certain things, for example. But they're really important to, you know, manage your list, grow your list, manage campaigns, for example, build content, get reports, a whole range of things that these platforms can do. Secondly, you need an email marketing list. So, you know, the sooner you start this, the better, because it's about building subscribers. And, you know, the sooner you can build that subscriber list, the better off you'll be. We'll also talk about how you can do, you know, how you can start to build that list shortly. Thirdly, you need to set some goals. Now, there are all different goals that you might want to set. And in some cases, you're going to be setting multiple of these. In fact, you might be setting, in some cases, all of these goals at some point. And that's the great thing about email marketing, is you can set goals for different campaigns depending on what you want to achieve. You can have multiple campaigns running. Okay, so there is one more really important one, and that's your domain name, email address. So, if your brand is mybusiness.com.au, then your email address should be you@mybusiness.com.au, not at gmail.com or bigpond.com, for example. It should really be your brand, because what it does is one, it's promoting your brand, but two, it's building trust in the people that receive your emails. And three, you're going to have more success in getting emails to people rather than ending up in their junk mail, for example. And, the number one rule people say, if you receive an email from someone, you don't know who it's from, check their email address and make sure it matches the business name. So, it is something that if you've got a domain, it's fairly easy to set up your email as part of that. So they're the four things you need. So let's look at some of the email providers and what you need to look at in terms of choosing one. Now, here's a big list. Now, you don't necessarily need to take all of these things into account, but some of them are really, really important. So for example, segmentation. This is taking a list and breaking it into small segments based on individual user characteristics, like I mentioned before. So some email providers allow you to do that better than others. And it is a really important feature. Secondly is the automations or, the flows, depending on the platform, but they're really marketing automations. So what sort of automations are provided with the platform you're looking at, and is it going to meet your needs, for example? We can talk about that in a second. Also, integration is really important. So if you're using a particular e-commerce platform, then you should make sure the email marketing platform integrates well with that natively, So for example, I'll give you an example there. A lot of people use Mailchimp. A lot of people use Shopify. About 2 years ago or so, Shopify and Mailchimp had a bit of a falling out, and Mailchimp stopped supporting Shopify as an integration. There is a third-party integration you can use. I think it's called ShopSync or something like that. I can't quite recall. And that's probably because Shopify came out with their own email marketing platform. So, there you would need a third thing to sort of integrate the two platforms. So I would always recommend to try and find a native integration that works with your particular website, e-commerce platform, for example. Make sure, check out the reviews of these different platforms. Make sure they're getting good reviews, and if not, why not? And then what sort of features they have. So forms, these are forms that are really important because that's how you sign people up. Landing pages might not be so important. You can build a landing page on your website platform. You don't necessarily need to use an email marketing landing page, for example. And calls to action you're going to use across all of your email marketing. So that's pretty important. Make sure they've got some good email templates that you can use. Some of them have built-in CRMs. So CRM isn't always important either. It depends on your particular business. You might already have a CRM. Some people don't even know what a CRM is. So, it's really about managing your customers, when to call them back, what we spoke about last, how the relationship's going, what information you need to send them, all these sorts of things. And built-in analytics or reporting is also important, so you can see how successful or not your marketing is going. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these. So this is just a graphic I got off the internet, actually, because I thought it includes some of my favorite ones, and it also gives you some reasons why they chose these particular ones. So there's a lot of platforms out there. Some of them have a really good free plan to get you started, some not so good. Some have all the features from day dot, whereas others you have to go up a plan to get more and more features. Now, a couple of these I really, really like. So for example, MailerLite, if you haven't seen that, it's a really good Mailchimp equivalent. It has a really good free plan, has all the features that you want from the moment you sign up. It's just about how many subscribers you have, and we'll talk about that in a second. There's Active Campaign, which is more or less one of the Rolls Royces of email marketing, and it's a very sophisticated tool. Omnisend, Sendinblue. So Sendinblue, Active Campaign, For example, they have CRMs built into them. Sendinblue is quite a good sort of starting plan, has a good starting plan if you want to consider that. And GetResponse, Moosend, you know, also to consider. There's a lot of other ones too. There's Mailchimp, of course, there's Clavio, you know, and many others. So let's look at some of these. So these are just comparing the free plans. So when do you need to start to pay, essentially? And so I'll just show you one of my favorite ones at the moment, MailerLite. You don't start to pay until, unless you want certain features, but you don't start to pay until you've got 2,000 in your subscriber list. Mailchimp, it's 2,000. Sendinblue, it's unlimited. But then some of them have different limitations on how many monthly emails you can send, or in the case of Sendinblue, it might be unlimited subscribers, but you can only send 300 a day. Whereas MailerLite, you can send unlimited number a day. You can send 12,000 a month, but have up to 1,000 on your list. So there's just some to consider. Clavio, I added this to this particular one because I like it very much. It doesn't have such a good free plan, but if you use e-commerce platforms, for example, Clavio is a fantastic little tool, and I'll show you some of the features of Clavio as well. Okay, so that's some of the platforms. Once you've chosen your platform, depending on your particular, you know, store that you're using, you would, you know, this particular one, I'm showing you how to install Omnisend for Woocommerce. So I would download the plugin, install that onto my WordPress website, copy the API key that they've provided here, and then I'd go to my WordPress website, open Omnisend, sorry about the cutoff screen here, and paste the API into there and save. Then you've got your email marketing system set up on your website and synchronized with the email marketing platform. Once you've done that, they'll normally come back with something like this. It will be different for every platform, but you know, let's get started. So connect your store, we've done that. So then you can set up your first workflow or your first automation, or you can send your first campaign, or you can start building a list by collecting emails. Okay, so that's essentially how it works, relatively straightforward. And I'm just going to show you some of the features of one of the more common ones here. So this, whoops, sorry, this is Mailchimp. So this is the dashboard of Mailchimp. And I just want to show you sort of what's available on a free plan. So you can see, just, sorry, I missed a bit of that. You can do a lot of different things. So let's have a look at this. So you can create emails for a start, different types of emails, HTML or text, for example. Customer journeys. So this is your automation. So depending on where your customer is, you can, sorry about that little square there. I didn't know that was still there. You can create different journeys. You can build landing pages and websites in inverted commas and design different content for your multiple channels, different forms that you can do there, like sign up forms, for example, embedded or pop-ups, and we'll talk about the different ones shortly. You could do surveys. You can even run ads and do your social posting from these particular platforms now. So very, very sophisticated. So I'm just going to move on from that. I didn't realize that little square was still there. Now, this is GetResponse. GetResponse is a fantastic tool. It's a little bit more expensive than, say, Mailchimp or MailerLite. But remember, it's an investment. So there's a range of different things you can do here, and I'll just show you some of the things by, you know, you can create newsletters, forms, campaigns, create funnels, landing pages. It's very, very sophisticated because it provides sort of built-in tools for you. So, or ready to go tools. So email marketing, like I said, you can do marketing automation. They even have webinars that you can build and promote through this. A range of different things. So including different types of funnels that you might want to build, landing pages, forms or surveys, for example, paid ads, and landing page builder or website builder. So lots of different things. And as you can see in the little section below there, You can also add your store, your products. So you don't necessarily need an e-commerce store. I would still recommend it, but you can sell, let's say you have 1 to 5 products, for example, you could easily do that through some of these email marketing platforms. Okay, so that's GetResponse. There are a couple of other ones. I just want to show you some here. So this is Send in blue, just to show you some of the pricing there. But you'll notice that even though the pricing looks relatively competitive, that's, once you start to go up in email volume, the price does grow substantially. But, for most small businesses, they're not going to send that sort of volume initially anyway. But I'd just recommend that you maybe go and check that out and get a feel for it yourself. And just finally, I'll just show you MailerLite. Really good tool. Does everything that all the other ones do, as I just showed you. And if you can just bear with me here for a second, I'll show you the pricing. So for 1,000 subscribers, it's free, or you can pay up to $10 if you want some additional features. They're really landing pages from memory, if you want some additional landing pages. And as you can see, even if you do grow your subscriber list, it's still relatively cost effective. Yeah, so there's lots of information there. I'm just showing you the integrations that are available, which remember is very important. So things like Shopify, Woocommerce, WordPress. Just check out a few other ones. BigCommerce, Magento, PrestaShop, Thrivecart. So it doesn't support all the platforms. So if you've got Wix or Squarespace or something, maybe that's not ideal platform for you. But I'd still look into it anyway. Okay, as you can see, lots of different things there that it supports. So well integrated. Okay, so once you've chosen an email marketing platform, you now need to start to think about ways that you can build your email marketing list. Now, there's lots of different ways you can do this. So I'm just going to go through some of those now and give you some ideas. So, if you do have a bricks and mortar store, for example, and you've got some existing customers or customers coming into your store, you should be asking them if it's okay to add their email address to your email marketing list and just get their approval to send them an email. So, and if you've got some existing emails, maybe you can ask those customers if it's okay to send them email marketing every now and then. So that's one option. The other, and very important, of course, is to have a sign-up form on your website. So sometimes you'll see these sign-up forms hidden down the bottom in the footer, for example, but I'm a strong believer in trying to embed it somewhere within your website, maybe on the home page, maybe halfway down or 3/4 of the way down, and, give them a reason to sign up. It might be that they're going to be first to know about latest releases, or they'll get special offers every now and then, all sorts of different reasons. And it really depends on your particular product and brand. So email sign-up forms, very easy to do through email marketing platforms. Then there's a range of pop-ups. So it's not necessarily just doing one of these. You can do a combination of these to make it as efficient as possible, I guess, in collecting those email addresses. So lots of pop-ups that you can do, welcome pop-ups. So someone that hasn't visited your site before, for example, you could offer them an incentive to leave an email address. Could be in response, it could give them a discount or free shipping or something like that. You've also seen the exit intent pop-ups before, I'm sure, where you've, you're about to leave the website and you receive a pop-up. I'm not a big fan of them personally, because I think you've psychologically already decided to leave. But, you need a good incentive to grab their email address there. So just something to consider there. I mentioned this just before, so it could be just someone on your products page, and it's a good opportunity to offer them some sort of incentive in return for their email address. Some social channels allow you to collect email addresses to sign up to your blog post. So that's another option for you. Many e-commerce platforms, for example, will allow you to have a sign up checkbox, at checkout. So you can have a little box tick to say, add me to your email list, for example. Some email marketing platforms will allow you to send notifications. So for example, this one here is from Clavio, and it's basically a back in stock notification. So you might have a popular product, often out of stock. When someone arrives there, it's out of stock, they can ask to be notified about when it's back in stock. And in that case, it's a win-win. They get notified, you get their email address, they make a sale, or you make a sale, they get the product they want, and you can continue doing the marketing to them. So notifications are a good option as well. Loyalty and referral programs. So if you've got some good loyal customers, ask them to sign up to a referral program, for example. Or if you've got some customers that are buying from you and maybe you don't have their email address yet, or they're not on your email marketing list anyway, you can sign them up to a loyalty program, for example. Lead magnets, you might have heard of these before. Depends on your particular product, what you offer, and whether you could, it's really a piece of content that you could offer the customer or the potential client in exchange for their email address. So it might be some sort of, it could be a sample, it could be some sort of club that they join. It could also be, some sort of white paper or expert document, white paper, for example, on their particular industry. So something industry specific potentially. And then just some sort of discount or deal as an easy option, if you like, I guess, where you're offering a discount on their first order in exchange for their email address. So that's one that works quite successfully. Okay, so depending on the platform you're using, you're going to need some forms to collect these email addresses. So I'm just going to show you some of these now. This one here I'm showing you is GetResponse, and you can see just on the menu there, you can create a form at the bottom or through the menu. I'm just going to create it here, and it gives you some options. So you can, follow a few of these different options here. I'm just going to show you. So they'll give you different form types depending on what you're trying to achieve. And as you can see, some fantastic templates there that you can use and customize to suit your particular brand. So your colors, your images, your fonts, for example. And there's a range of different forms here, as you can see. So you might want to use a combination of these. You could have an embedded form on your website. You could have potentially a pop-up at some point. And depending on your marketing platform, you might, there's a range of different things that you might want to do, and we'll talk about those. So I'll just keep this going for a second just to show you the different ones. So just general ones, not sign up, newsletter. There's different apps that you can use and different integrations that you can use as well to integrate forms directly onto your store or website. So that's GetResponse. And same thing with Mailchimp. You can see if you go to the audience dashboard and go to sign up forms, you'll see a range of different forms there. So there's a form builder, or you can put an embedded form in your website, pop-ups, contact forms. So let's have a look at some of these. So it gives you a bit of a preview of what the form will look like, and you can customize it to suit your particular need, where you want to place that on your website. There's all different types you can look at. So, if you look at the condensed one, that's the one people are very familiar with in terms of just a simple email address, subscribe, opt-in form. You would generate the code if you want, copy that, and just embed it in your website, or use the website integration just to place it very easily on your website wherever you want it. Now I'm showing you a contact form, which is sort of irrelevant to what we're talking about here, but just showing you that it's fairly easy to do any sort of form, and you can have that opt-in at the bottom of the contact form as well. Okay, so just showing you briefly how simple it is to, it does look pretty generic when you first look at it, but it's really about your images and your message, your branding, your voice, your logo, your fonts, colors, and it will make it, more aligned with your particular branding. Look, I'm going to move on from here because I do add a glyphy there, which is no good at all. So I'm just going to keep moving. Okay, so we've talked about, what you need to do to sort of build your list. Now I'm just going to talk about a really simple email marketing strategy that you could employ. So, it's email marketing from this point really is, wherever possible, trying to segment your list into smaller groups based on some of the criteria I mentioned earlier. So it could be behavior or demographics, for example. So you can market to them on a much more personalized level. Okay, so you need to send these smaller segments relevant content at the right time. So let's just look at that. So you need to build a list and then segment that audience or that list based on certain demographics, certain behavior, a range of different things, what segment they're in, for example. So segment the audience is one, and then send that particular segment the content there after at the right time. So it might seem a little bit confusing at the moment, but I'll clarify this in a second. And then you follow that email up based on their actions. So segment the audience, send that particular segment the content thereafter at the right time, and then follow up based on their particular actions. So I can hear you thinking, well, that's not really simple, but it is quite simple, and I can show you how you can do this relatively easily. Now, segmenting is important because the more you segment, the more you're doing more targeted type marketing. And because you're doing that more targeted marketing, you're going to have better success rates in terms of things like open rates of your emails, for example, are going to increase over and above non-segmented ones. So if you think about a newsletter, that's really a non-segmented newsletter, usually anyway, not always the case, but often newsletter is sent out to the whole list. And it's a bit like that shotgun approach, if you like. So because of this, you're getting much more relevant content to the right people. So overall, you're going to just get much better results. So how can you segment your email list? Well, there's lots of different ways, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. But it could be any number of these, for example. So, what gender the person is, where they're located, what products they've bought or haven't bought, where they are in the sales funnel, whether they have attended an event, for example, all sorts of different things. Now, how do you do this? Well, it's relatively easy. So let's have a quick look. So mentioned that already, and it's basically a range of different criteria you can use to select your particular demographic, much more than that, really. So let's have a look at one of those. This is Clavio. And this is a Clavio dashboard that shows you lists and segments. And these are lists, for example, but I'm just going to show you how you can create they are actually segments, how you can create one of those. So a list you'd probably import from a CSV spreadsheet. Now I'm just going to create a test segment here. And then I'm going to define what puts a user into this, not there, but over here under definition, what puts a user into this segment. So it could be based on any number of these things. So what they have or haven't done, where they are, for example, what list they're on, for example. So I'm going to choose what they have or haven't done. And I'm just going to pause. This is a screen recording, so I'm just recording this, stopping this. So these metrics here, these are all clavio metrics. So whether they've opened emails, you know, not opened emails, or a range of different things that they might have done. Then there's sort of API ones. So it could be a type form or some other form that you've got on there. And then there's a range of e-commerce specific ones here. So I'm going to choose one of these ones. So I'm going to choose ordered product. So anyone on this list would have ordered a particular product, and I can specify that in a minute. At least I can choose a number of times here. So this is sort of what I'm doing here, I guess, is building a VIP customer list, if you like, or regular purchases. So with this particular product, if I was to purchase it more than 3 times, or at least 3 times, I would be considered a regular purchaser. So I can choose a range of different product parameters here, but I'm just going to choose a product ID, and then I'm going to choose that from the list and put that in there. So when anyone purchases this product more than 3 times or more, they get added to this list. I can then do some very specific targeting to them. I'm not going to continue this on because all I do really is I add another product to that. But you could also specify, for example, I want whoever's in this segment will have bought this product 3 times or more, and they've also, for example, could be aged, this particular age group or this particular demographic, for example, this location, a range of different things you could do. So segmenting is very, very powerful. Okay, so I won't continue on from that because we're now going to talk about automation. So once you've got your email list, you've built your segmentations, you now need to think about how am I going to automate the emails that I send to these particular segments. So most email marketing platforms allow you to really communicate individually with individual users, if you like, or subscribers. So let's think about, how we can automate some of that. So a lot of these platforms now have inbuilt automations, and automations really can be triggered based on 3 things. So it could be based on something they've done on your website. So this is a behavior-based trigger. So a popular one, for example, would be abandoned cart. So they've abandoned cart, so they get sent an automated list, automated series of emails. It could be that they are in a particular segment that you've already set up. So they purchased a particular product multiple times, or, it could be anything, any particular segment that you set up. VIP customers that have lapsed, they haven't bought anything from you, not even opening your emails. That can trigger a particular email automation based on the segment. And the third type is date-based. So this is when someone's placed an order and then you wait a certain period before you send that email for a particular reason. So it could be based on the fact that they need to restock, based on a range of different reasons. So for example, if it's something that needs to be refilled, you could set a date-based trigger to send them an email after a certain number of days. Okay, so they're the 3 types of automations. Now I'm just going to show you how you do this. Once again, I'm going to show you initially using Clavio. Clavio call them flows, but it doesn't matter what email marketing platform you're talking about. They're pretty much all do the similar things, but they might just call them something different. So I'm just going to browse some of the inbuilt ideas that Clavio provide you. So here's some automated emails. So depending on your goal, like I said before, the goal you want to set or the type of email you want to send, you can choose a pre-built automation. So abandoned cart, browse abandonment, customer win back, transactional type emails, and also what sort of integrations there are as well. So, you know, shipping confirmation, for example, abandoned cart, back in stock, browse abandonment, customer win back, customer thank you. So I'm just going to show you one of them here. Browse abandonment is probably not the best example to show you because it's quite niche and not many platforms do this. It's relatively tricky to set up too, but just to show you roughly how it works. And someone has viewed a particular product, they have to be on your list, of course, they can't just be anybody, but someone has viewed your product, you can wait a certain period and then send them an email to say, hey, I saw you were looking at this product. Here's a 5% discount, or, you know, other people that bought that product also like this product, for example. You know, it really depends on your particular messaging. But browse abandonment is one automation, for example. And it's relatively easy to just click on the create flow and create that flow. Okay, so that is Clavio. This is some of the workflows that are built into Mailchimp, if you are using Mailchimp. So, you know, welcome message, educate your subscribers. So a series of emails, educating them on your particular brand or product, for example, what they've done on your website or specific products they've purchased. You know, so a lot of things that you could also use here, one-time events. So if you go back to what I mentioned earlier, which is, you know, a really simple strategy is to build your list, segment that into smaller groups, and send those smaller groups specific customized content for their particular needs. So and the great thing about this automation is it's done individually. It's not done as a mass mail out. As people are added to that particular segment, that automation will trigger and they'll be sent an email. So what it does is it allows you to do a couple of things, you know, build a really good customer service story where you're servicing your customers as they're expecting to be serviced. So receiving thank you emails when they purchase products or shipping confirmation emails. But it's also allowing you to do, you know, some of this marketing that you may or may not have the resources to do yourself, you know, because it takes people to do this. So once you set up these automations, you know, you don't necessarily need to worry about them anymore, other than to make sure they're working and, you know, get some reports on them. So hopefully that makes sense. You segment the audience, you send that particular segment content based on certain automations, and those automations will follow that particular email up based on what they do. So here's some example emails that you might want to consider setting up. I think some of these are essential that you should have set up. So, sorry, the first one is a welcome email. So there's two types of welcome emails, I guess. One is where you're welcoming new people to your website that have never visited your website before. And the second is welcoming people that have subscribed to your email list. So I would probably focus on the secondary one where they're subscribed to your email list. Send them a welcome email introducing your product and your brand, your social, you know, and that sort of thing. So a welcome email is a really important one to set up. Secondly, you might want to consider funnels. So funnels are a little bit more complex, but they allow you to do marketing or sales in a more automated way. And we'll talk briefly about how you can do that. And then there's a range of retargeting emails that you should potentially set up. So these are things like an abandoned cart email. If you don't have an abandoned cart email, you should, because the industry standard is 60 or 70% of people abandon their cart. So you really need a mechanism to try and claw some of that back. And that mechanism would be an abandoned cart email. it does work. A certain percentage will definitely come back and finish their checkout process. So definitely something that you should consider doing. The win back, so this is someone that's lapsed. And how do you know if they're lapsed? Well, you can see that in, well, even just in the reporting from your email marketing where they're not responding to your emails, they haven't bought anything for a while, for example. It's a good way to try and win customers back is through an email marketing campaign. Browse abandonment, I mentioned that briefly, and it's really dependent on your particular platform. You can also do Facebook retargeting. So Facebook retargeting is where you're building a list based on people that are doing something on your website. You can then take that email list as a CSV and import it into custom audiences on your social, say Facebook, and target them specifically that way. It's also a loophole in it. It's a way that you can target emails that you don't have authority or their approval to send them an email marketing. There is a way to get around that through Facebook retargeting. So you're targeting them based on their email address, but not necessarily sending them email marketing. Okay, so let's have a look at these briefly. So welcome email is really a sequence of emails that you would send to people that have just signed up to your subscriber list. And, it's a great opportunity for you to introduce the products that you offer, introduce your social channels. There are lots of template ones out there that you can use and customize. And it would look something like this if you were to look at an automation. So when someone subscribes to a new newsletter, they receive an email straight away to say, thanks for signing up. After 3 days, we send them a follow-up email to say, hey, here's our social media channels, follow us on those. And then 4 days after that, we'll send them information about our best-selling products. And, you can also have, depending on how they respond to that, you can have different options. So just going to show you how you might do this on a platform. So this is Mailchimp, for example, going into customer journeys, start creating a customer journey. You can see there's customer journeys, transactional email, retargeting ads, and postcards. Just letting that load. So there you go. The very first one they have on their list is welcoming new contacts. Recover lost customers, remind customers to order. So we'll just look at that quickly. Welcome new contacts to your subscriber list. So they sign up, they receive a welcome email. 2 days later, you send them another email to say something or other. I'm just going to, and then based on what they do, yes or no, you can decide on, a response to that particular response. Okay, so did they open the email? Sorry, did they open the email or not? And then I take it from there. So you can see it's relatively straightforward to do. So once they sign up to that email list, they get an email saying, welcome to our family, which I'm just going to customize, select a template. You could just customize that, or you could just, use the one that they offer, or use one of the templates they have. So there's lots of different ones available. Some of these you need to upgrade though, as you can see. But still, I mean, most of the ones they have there, the standard ones are fine for what most people need to do and are easily customizable. Okay, so just going to skip to the next one. But as you can see, relatively straightforward to choose the template that you want. And then you can edit the next stage of that process. In terms of editing the template itself, it's just a matter in most cases of dragging one of the content types on the right over to your particular email. So that would say their first name, of course. So it's quite personalized. Not the greatest email there, but you get the idea. Okay, now. Sorry, I'm just going to skip. So the next one would be that I'm going to show you is funnels. So we've talked about welcome email. Now let's talk about funnels. So what's a funnel? A funnel is really a process where you're moving people from the awareness phase down to the conversion phase of the funnel. So the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel. Now there's lots of different ways you can do this, but in my opinion, I think email marketing plays a really important role here. So, you know, you need to, this is really just something that I got from GetResponse. You know, you start collecting your emails, start connecting to your contacts, turn those contacts into customers, and have thank you pages and confirmation pages. That's a really simplification of how it works. But there are all different types of funnels, and we'll talk about a few different ones here. So the most simple one would be getting traffic to a particular landing page, getting them to opt into a list, and those that opt in most cases here, it's got some percentages. Depending on your conversion rate, you might then send them a series of emails, different types of content. So that's a relatively simple one. But with a lot of these platforms, so this is GetResponse here, they provide all of the components that you need to build a funnel. So for example, a sign-up page could be on your website, or you could build a specific landing page for that. Pop-up form for signing them up. It could be when they're exiting, or it could be embedded in the website. Could be a range of different options there. Follow-up emails to say, thanks for signing up. You know, here's some information about us. A landing page or a sales page if you then want to direct them to some other feature, product, service. Order forms, abandoned cart emails, confirmation pages, and confirmation emails. So all of these, you know, your particular funnel might look slightly different, but all of the components that you need are really built into a lot of these email marketing platforms. So I'm just going to show you that briefly here. So this is, once again, GetResponse, but they're all similar. And we'll just look at some of the funnels that they have built in. So as you can see, they've got some pre-built ones to do one of three things: grow your list, sell products, or build your brand. So let's have a look at those. And it gives you a couple of options for each one. So if you want to build a list, they give you an option for a lead magnet funnel or just a standard like opt-in type funnel. If you want to sell a product, they have two sales funnels, a full, you know, a longer sales funnel and a shorter sales funnel. If you're promoting a webinar, for example, they have a free or a paid webinar that you can promote. So we're just going to have a quick look at some of these. So you would enter the funnel name. And then this is where you saw this earlier. So you can really easily create a sign-up page or a pop-up, for example. Here's the different sign-up pages they offer as templates. So these are all their templates, or you can look on the left and filter that by looking at particular type of templates. So physical product, services, online courses, for example. So you can see now. So as you can see, when you select the sign up page, they also give you a thank you page that you can also customize. And, then it's just a matter of customizing it to suit your particular brand. So I'm not going to go into this in too much detail here, but as you can see, relatively straightforward to do. And it'll go off and build that for you. So I think this is just a repeat, so I'm just going to forward on. So yeah, so we've talked about creating funnels. There are also, so that's a welcome email funnel you might want to develop. The other type of email you want to get your head around potentially are ways to retarget visitors. Now, there's a reason why you might want to do that. And it's because, it's a little bit much to expect that every, 100% of your visitors to your website are going to order something. Across e-commerce, yes, particularly on their first visit. Across e-commerce, the average on their first visit is 1 or 2%. So for every 100 visitors, 1 or 2%, 1 or 2 are going to buy a product from you. So what you need to ensure there is that you're retargeting your visitors. There's 2 ways to retarget your visitors, essentially. There's email retargeting, which is what I'm talking about here. But there's also, Facebook and Google and LinkedIn retargeting, which is really where you've got a pixel on your website, installed on your website, and you're retargeting them with ads on other websites or social platforms, for example. This is slightly different to that. So let's look at some of the retargeting we're talking about are things like this. So abandoned cart, for example, is one of those. So an abandoned cart email, I'm just going to show you using a preset here. So why would you do this abandoned cart? And it's a little bit like the statistic that says there. So 7 out of 10 shopping carts are abandoned. So, and you'll find that you have that drop off at every stage of your funnel. So it's about trying to minimize that rather than not trying to wipe it out completely, but just trying to reduce the abandoned cart. So if you can get that down to 6 out of 10, for example, rather than 7, that's a great thing. It's all profit, better bottom line for you, essentially. So that's one way you can do that. And if you set that up, they'd receive something like this. Not a great example, but it's really showing you that, it's basically saying, come back, you've left something in your cart. And by the way, this product gets 5-star reviews, and people that bought that also bought these other products, for example. So definitely something that you should set up. The other thing you could think about is a customer win back. So, you might have received these yourself. I definitely have. And this is when you're on an email list, but you're not necessarily opening the emails. So it's just a way to engage people again. Some people might say, no, take me off the list. That's better than having a non-engaged person on your list. Or like me, I'll often say, no, keep me on the list. And then that'll bring me back into the fold a little bit and start looking at their solution again. So that's just 2 ways you can look at that. The other way is browse abandonment. So I've talked about this briefly. They do need to be on your list, and you can then send them an email to say, hey, notice you're looking at this product. People that bought that also like these products. You may be interested in them too. So, something along those lines. And we also talked about retargeting on Facebook. So this is where, you might have someone that's viewing a product on your website. You then add them to a category, for example, to say, they've been looking at this particular product, for example. You can then send them, you can then export that segment as a custom audience in Facebook, for example. So that's one way to do that. And the same applies to any sort of segment, whether it's inactive subscribers, or win-back customers, for example. You can definitely build a custom audience based on that particular email list. And you can also take that email list and build a lookalike audience if that's something you decided to do by using that email list as the basis for building a lookalike audience. Okay, how would you do that? Well, it's relatively easy. This is Mailchimp. So they would say, how would you like to build that list, create a custom list, for example, and you can then connect your Facebook audiences directly to your Mailchimp account and to that particular segment. So relatively straightforward. So I'm running a bit late, but I'm almost finished. So if you can just bear with me. Now, final couple of things I'm going to talk about. So I'm a big fan of using templates that these platforms provide you. And that's because, these templates are designed by, proper design, graphic designers, web designers, somewhere around the world. So you may as well benefit from their design skills and use these particular templates. There's a lot there that you can choose from. And also, for example, like I said, on GetResponse, you can also use those templates. Now, just quickly on some of the metrics that you should be looking at. So what tells you if your email marketing is successful or not? Well, there's 4 key metrics you need to look at, and that's these 4 here. So delivery rate, open rate, click rate, conversion rate. Delivery rate should be in the high 90%. If it's not, then you've got to, maybe clean up your email list a little bit, because you've probably got old email addresses on there. It should be in the high 90s as the industry average. And like it says, it indicates the health of your email list. Open rate should be in somewhere in that area, depending on your particular customers and customer list, but it should be in at least above 30%. And that indicates interest in your brand. Now, the click rate is across the industry is 5%. So they've opened your email, they've then clicked on something within your email. So, that indicates interest in the content that you're sending them. And then the conversion rate. So, are they taking the action you've asked them to take? For example, have they gone and purchased a product that you suggested they might be interested in, for example? So these are really important metrics. There are a couple of ways, if you're not getting those particular, levels or, base levels for your metrics, there are ways to improve that. This particular document is included in the links I provide afterwards, which is a HubSpot document, and it just gives you some tips on how to improve some of these metrics. So if your click-through rate is low, maybe you can look at ways to do that by making sure your segmentation is fine-tuned. If your conversion rate isn't as good as you think it should be, maybe, think about mobile, optimizing your emails, better call to actions, for example. If your bounce rate's a bit high, for example, there's different types of bounce rates. Anyway, I'll leave that to you and you can have a look at that in your own time. And it's a very good article by HubSpot. Now, some regulations you need to comply with, of course. So spam is the first one. And a recent sort of addition to that is GDPR. GDPR originally came from Europe. It's now spreading globally. So you need to conform to both of these. Very similar, essentially. You can't send people emails or other content without their permission, and you need to collect minimal information from your users and ensure that you're managing their privacy as best you can within the regulations. Second thing, you need to have an unsubscribe link clearly described or displayed on your email. And a lot of people don't realize this. You also need to have your physical address on there as well. A couple of other things I've mentioned, your domain name, not a regulation, but probably essential in my opinion. And a couple of other things that you shouldn't do, for example, is to buy, or the last thing on the list, I guess, is not to buy lists. So to build your list rather than to buy a list. You can't buy a list and have their approval to email to them because they haven't given you that authority. Now, that's it for me. Thank you very much for attending the webinar. I hope you got something out of it today. I do recommend, if you can go to that particular link, you'll get resources from today. There's just a couple of resources and this presentation. I can't actually copy that and put it into the chat at the moment because it's I'm sharing the screen. Maybe you can just write that down. It's just bit.ly/3 capital AAC 6 capital S capital Q 3. And you should be able to get access to the resources there. If not, you're welcome to email me at ricky@businessstation.com.au. Happy to receive any emails about this particular webinar, or if I can help in any way with your email marketing. Yeah, so thank you. I hope you got something out of that today. And I'll just leave that up there for a little while so you can get the that link. And for those that aren't aware, this is part of this presentation is part of the ASBAS, or Australian Small Business Advisory Service Digital Solutions Program. If you are not part of that program and want to learn more about how you can build your skills in the digital space for $44, then you might want to participate in the Digital Solutions Program. And you can do that just you'll get 7 hours of mentorship for $44, and you visit businessstation.com.au for more information on that. Thank you, Lee. Good to see you again. Well, I didn't actually see you, but thanks for attending, and good luck with everything. And yeah, so I might just go back to that particular one. Thanks, Lee. Okay, thank you very much for that. And like I said, Ricky at Business Station, if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a good day. Bye, everyone.